Good evening, class. My name is Caitlin, and thank you so much for joining me for Competency Presentation number 3. I'm so excited to talk to you about what I've been learning through these competencies. So, let's start out with the competencies that we were covering for this time frame. We were doing youth and adult development, fundraising principles and practices, nonprofit accounting and financial management, nonprofit risk management, volunteer management, and information management and technology. Now, some similarities that I found among all of these competencies are that all of these encompass the overall development and strategy required for nonprofit management. Another similarity is they are all standards necessary to maintain safety of the client, staff, community, and the organization. And all of these focus on future trends and approaches to engaging a community. Now, let's move on to some differences among all these competencies. Competencies like youth and adult development, nonprofit risk management, nonprofit accounting and financial management, and information and technology management emphasize safety measures and controls needed to ensure the longevity of a nonprofit. Fundraising principles and practices and volunteer management express community engagement and marketing strategies to cast an organization's vision. Now, let's get personal for a while. With the nonprofit management practices, I discovered some strengths and weaknesses in myself. Some strengths that I discovered are personal experience with nonprofit risk management. So during my internship with Bridges Safe House, I was able to serve as a house assistant, which means I was able to stay with our residents who were currently living in the shelter and to assist them with any needs that they may have. And a lot of my duties included risk management. Whether a client was incoming to our facilities, we needed to sign liability waivers. At night, all windows and doors needed to be locked, and an alarm system needed to be on to ensure safety for our residents and our staff. There are so many different measures that an organization needs to take to keep their clients and their staff safe. This also included for Bridges Safe House video cameras that were set up in several different areas of the safe house so that we could see activity that was going on, how the staff was interacting with the clients, and if appropriate behaviors were happening. So all of those things are very important, and I'm thankful that I got experience with those things. I also have a passion for volunteer appreciation. Something very near and dear to my heart is that volunteers feel appreciated. Unfortunately, I've been in some situations at nonprofits in the past where I haven't felt appreciated for all the time that I'm giving to an organization. And what's really important to remember if we're working in human services is that our volunteers are the life's blood of our organization. They're not working for money, they're working for the fulfillment and satisfaction of helping those in need, and they're doing it from the goodness of their heart. And an organization truly needs to come alongside these people and empower them and strengthen them and allow them to have fulfilling experiences and to also thank them greatly for what they're doing. I don't always see that happen, and it really inspires me to bring that kind of thankfulness to volunteers when I come into contact with them now. So I'm thankful for that experience. Some weaknesses of mine include a lack of program evaluation communication. Now that's a mouthful. But what I mean by this is that I'm able to assess issues that I might see in an organization. However, it's very challenging for me to want to be honest about the issues that I see. I'm afraid that I'll offend somebody or say something that's not right. However, every program needs an evaluation. It needs an assessment of how effectively it's serving people. And I would really, moving forward, like to get better about sharing my ideas and areas for growth that I see personally with staff members. I also have a lack of training to detect abuse, whether it be child neglect or abuse, for adults, coming towards adults, I don't feel that I am the best equipped currently to know how to detect that abuse and to know how to approach this very difficult situation. And moving forward, in order to better serve children and adults, I would like to be better at abuse detection. Now, let's discuss how I can grow my strengths and how I can grow my weaknesses as well. So as I discussed, I have strengths in personal experience with nonprofit risk management as well as passion for volunteer appreciation. So I can develop these strengths by working directly with volunteers and by continuing to implement proper risk management procedures. In other words, I can keep on building on those things by just getting more and more experience, by appreciating those volunteers, and by continuing to utilize risk management procedures. Now, to grow in my weaknesses, I need to communicate areas of growth I detect in an organization to those in authority. I can also attend seminars and study abuse detection practices, which is very, very important in the realm of human services. Now, let's talk about personal learning experiences. I've learned so many things while being in the Human Services program at UNT Dallas, but I want to hone in on a few major parts of my personal learning experience with these competencies, and that includes the importance of volunteer training and retention. As I touched on earlier, really empowering volunteers to do the best work that they can do by training them well and really introducing them to the history of the organization, explain the vision, mission, and goals of that organization so that they feel passionate to help, and also to appreciate them to the best of our abilities is very important to me. I've learned that we need to have a working knowledge of nonprofit budgeting and fundraising software, and I'm very thankful that I got experience with budgeting and fundraising software during my internship at Bridges Safe House. I was able to utilize QuickBooks software, which greatly helps with budgeting in a nonprofit. Also able to use a software called Network for Good, which is a way to organize all of your donations and donors and even send them thank you cards digitally. It's a very great system to use. Also, I've gained experience in implementation of risk management procedures. As I spoke on earlier, while I was an intern at Bridges Safe House, there was a lot of learning about risk management. I was living as a staff member with women and children who were very sensitive. They'd been homeless, they'd been through very severe things, they'd been in domestic violence situations. And with that in mind, it's very important to have very strict risk procedures in the event that something negative were to happen, that everybody in the facility is safe, staff included, or volunteers who have come into your facility to help. It's just very important to think of all possible scenarios that could go wrong and to know how to combat those issues. Alright, so for my competency mastery, I chose youth and adult development. So through various experiences, I've been able to interact with youth from different backgrounds, whether it be socioeconomic status or race, but despite their differences, they're all looking for guidance and structure in their lives. And I know this to be very true. I recall a young boy named Mason who was living at Bridges Safe House the semester in which I completed my internship. And Mason was very, very young when I first met him, and he'd already been through so much in his life. He and his mom had been living in a car for over 9 months before they came to our shelter. And it's a harsh reality for a child of that age to have already endured so much. And due to his lack of structure, Mason was dealing with some very significant behavior problems. Mason was not so young that he didn't understand what was going on, yet he wasn't quite old enough to go to school to escape the reality of his living situation. He's at a very vulnerable age where he sensed the reality of what was going on, yet he couldn't escape it through extracurricular activities. And I'm really thankful that I was able to speak to our program coordinator at Bridges about the issues that I was seeing with Mason. He really needed some recreational activity outside of our shelter. And based on my recommendation, we were able to have a volunteer come pick Mason up a few times a week to take him to the park. And it really helped him so much with his behavioral issues, and it helped him to feel like a normal child. In a normal living situation, it helped him to settle, and I saw so much improvement in his life through that situation. Now, for an assignment to emphasize this competency mastery, I did choose paper. This is an assignment that I completed that I do believe emphasizes what I learned about caring for adults and youth. This is a program that I designed myself, and then I wrote a paper over this program, but my program's name was Geared to Empower, and it is an organization that I personally developed to raise educational standards for women through mentorship, job experience, and individualized tutoring opportunities. So basically, my goal when planning this program was to help female students in the Dallas ISD in DISD to raise their GPA scores, to offer them mentorship programs, to just raise their curiosity to learn. And it was just such a wonderful experience. Writing this paper, it really helped me to conceptualize a program myself that I came up with. And yeah, I was able to list goals and how this would just be helpful to women in general. So I do believe that this paper helped me to master the competency of working with youth and adults. It helped me center in on issues that I see in my own community and women in my community. I'm really glad I was able to complete that assignment. Well, I think that wraps it up for competency presentation number 3. I really appreciate as you've journeyed with me through this assignment and through this semester as well. Bye.